I want to talk about the experience of your team because you are the quintessential case of you did outsource a portion of this to CrowdStrike and then elevated what your team's doing, which is the promise. We always say that about outsourcing. We're gonna elevate the team, and you've been able to do that. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's a learning process. I will have to admit that when we first started to consider the complete Falcon solution, my team was a little apprehensive because the first question is Dave, can they respond fast enough? But as part of the partnership, you understand that an organization like CrowdStrike brings a very high level of expertise to the table. And what we're looking for is really trying to address the problem, which is how do we quickly resolve endpoint issues? What I will share with you is when we first entered into the agreement and we started to configure the solution, we would see alerts pop up on the console just like the Falcon team would see them. And the tendency was for us to just jump in and try and resolve them. But what we found out is we may be in the midst of trying to figure out what was going on, and CrowdStrike would send us an alert and say, oh, by the way, we have remediated this system. And so what I would share with you is you're exactly right. We decided that we were going to let the experts do what we engaged them to do and leverage that relationship to learn how to get better at the areas that we needed to get better in, and that's actually threat hunting. And what's really interesting about how the dynamic evolved is we can pick up the phone, and there are times when we're on the phone with CrowdStrike 3 or 4 times a week, not necessarily about a specific endpoint issue, but hey, something has come out. How do we use the tool to understand what the indicators of compromise are? And then how do we make sure that our systems and our protections are protected? And that's the value that a service like CrowdStrike brings, because we have an exercise we call LOE. Every time an alert comes out, we want to understand as quickly as possible what our level of exposure is. And so from a desktop perspective, we can quickly go to the console. CrowdStrike has a community of threats that are out there. So I can go read about any of the threat gangs or anything that's going on along with the indicators of compromise. And I can search my system to see if that's even shown up in my environment. Those are the value adds that we didn't do before. So not only do they provide a service that remediates at the desktop, they also provide information on the back end where we can actually learn this particular variant of ransomware may not specifically be applicable to your environment. We haven't seen it in the healthcare environment.